Happy Friday. Happy June, first Friday of June. I can't believe it's already here. I am intentionally, unintentionally, appropriately dressed for June on the range. This was purely, I was freezing this morning. I turned off the air. I grabbed a flannel. I have an electric blanket on my lap. It's that time of year for me that I honestly use my electric blanket more than I do in the wintertime. Seriously. Um, Even though I am in the South, humid weather has begun. It is like 68 degrees with 71% humidity already. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, yeah. I will definitely turn the air conditioner back on once it warms up in here. I let it hit like 77. I know probably there are people that are really horrified right now, and I used to not be that way, but let it hit 77 and then kick the air on. I mean, it's great for our energy bill, but yeah, it's just because I'm legitimately freezing. But I did finish 4 books this past week. Started one iffy on it. We'll get there. And then I have some potential TBR. I'll let you know what I have planned for June on the range. Everything else, mood reader. I will read whatever strikes my fancy. But for what I did finish this past week, if my tablet will get to be a little bit faster, it is ancient, but it's my favorite and I refuse. I feel a little bit like Steve Donahue here. I, I have multiple reading devices, but I go back to like my favorites. If anything ever happens, I'm for sure going to be up on uh, eBay looking for another one. I mean, it's like I don't even remember. It's a Google tablet from like 2004, 2005. My husband had one. I accidentally dropped his and cracked it and shattered it and deemed it useless and bought him a new one, which he just was like, you can keep it because you use it. But since I last spoke with you and had a video, I have finished The Wife Upstairs. It was an audiobook by Frida McFadden. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. It was 4 star. I have given all of her books besides The Housemaid 4 stars because they're good. There's just something a little bit off on them. Um, they're always suspenseful, for sure. Interesting if you ever want a good thriller. I do suggest Frida McFadden. I did also read and finish listen to the audiobook of Tiger Shrimp Tango by Tim Dorsey. It is number 17 in the Search Storms. They're not really mysteries, they're just hijinks, honestly. So if you want something with humor, um, for sure it's wild. Like it's different. So I think I have 9 more to go, I counted. So getting there slowly but surely. I don't have the next one lined up. I may just wait until next month, since they're really summertime reads. This one was purely, I don't even know if I found it on Scribd, however you want to say it. I don't remember, but it was just taking me back to my youth. It was nothing. It took like honestly 10 minutes, 15 maybe. It was the history of Garbage Pail Kids. If anybody is old enough that they remember Garbage Pail Kids from the 80s, the cards, collector cards, join the fun. But if you want something amusing, it was like some of them I looked at and I totally had forgotten, and I went, oh my gosh. My aunt, she's, I'm not sure how much older she is than us. She graduated, or she was just a couple of years old when my dad graduated high school. So she was like a late in life sister. So she was, I would say high school or so whenever we were growing up, but she collected them and she had like a box. I want to say it's like a shirt box that you would do like a Christmas gift in, that she kept them in. And every time we went to visit my grandmother, I would take them out and thumb through them. She's like, you have to be careful with them. You have to be careful with them. I was like, okay. And I was. But that was my thing. Every time I visited, I pulled out her Garbage Pail Kid cards and looked through them. And it was like, oh, these are so gross. Oh, it's so fun. I would say that probably helped develop my personality. But eventually she was just like, just take them. Like, I'm not going to do anything with them. Just take them, but make sure you take care of them. Yeah, right. Like, I honestly still have a few floating around that have traveled for a move, you know, but definitely not the whole box. So, yes, I could kick myself for not having them and taking care of them, but you know what? You're doomed to tell a kid to take care of something. You just are. It's kind of like you can kick yourself that you had this toy when you were a kid that's now worth a lot of money, and it's just like, whatever. You enjoyed it at the time. It's what it was intended for. Be done with it. But Garbage Pail Kids, some of them I looked at and I'm like, that would not, absolutely not jive today, would not fly, but it was amusing. And then Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, How I Survived Nellie Olson and Learned to Love Being Hated by Allison Arngrim. She played Nellie Olson on Little House on the Prairie, which I honestly did not really ever watch. I mean, if it was on in reruns, sure, but I didn't faithfully watch it. But I did honestly find that it's on, I think it's on Paramount Plus, which I have to admit, no, not Paramount, Peacock. I have Peacock for, I'm not even joking, I have it exclusively for 30 Rock and Parks and Rec and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And if you want to know my brain, I am at the tail end of the full series, like tail end of the episodes. That means I'm done. But this will be the third consecutive time I have watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine since Christmas. But I did pull up the first episode of Little House on the Prairie to watch. It's neither here nor there book related, but it was okay. It was name droppy, you know, any memoir name droppy. So don't recommend it. It is an older book. I think it came out in 2011 or 2012, if I'm not mistaken, 2010. So it's a 13-year-old book almost. So it you can tell. Watch Little House on the Prairie or read the books. It's definitely my suggestion. Now, I did start, and I have mixed feelings about it, that I have seen it all over Book Talk. I'm sure you guys have heard it too, have seen it. There went William. He's probably going to go. There he goes. It's the hype train, and I have been like crash and burn on the hype train with anything that's on Book Talk, sometimes BookTube, sometimes Bookstagram. Great for the authors, but they, most of the time for me, fail. There have been a couple of occasions, like Emily Henry has been I'm glad that I got on that hype train. But it's The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, if I'm saying that correctly. It is young adult, dragon rider, not at all my taste. I am listening to the audiobook. It is on Scribd, so if you can't find a copy of it because it's sold out or it's on hold at your library, I can put a link in the bottom description box if you want to do like a free, I'm no way sponsored, but if you want to do a free 2-month trial of Scribd and listen to it for free. I don't know if the actual book is on there, but I can do that. It's fine. I am in no way, shape, or form perfect. If you heard me in everyday life, I do say salty words. I'm sure I've said salty words on my videos, but yes, I have no problem using mixed language. It's just who I am. It's, oh well. Do I say it in work and in public? No. But what I do in my own home, if I want to talk like a pirate, I'll talk like a pirate. This one is like over the top. Like, F this, F that, F you. It's just like, okay, we get it. You're trying to be all edgy for a young adult. It's tacky. Like, there's a certain point where it's too much. If you want to throw it around casually once or twice, sure. You know, any of the various George Carlin words for sure, but that in and of itself is turning me off because it's okay, you need to get creative and stop. Granted, there's the studies that people that use choice words definitely are more intelligent for sure, but at what point? Stop. Go to a thesaurus, find another word, work on it. There are ways that you can get your message across without saying he blankety blank 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 and she blankety blank 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 and she rode the blankety. Like, come on. Come on. I don't know if anybody else has read it, if anybody even remotely reads young adult, but I'm just saying it's not starting off on the right foot. It's mid. It's okay. So that's where we are currently. I've kind of dipped in and out. There's Phoebe. Dipped in and out of what I'm going to read for June on the Range. I have to for sure mention this one. It's an annual reread. If you've seen the movie, this just pretty much almost is like a screenplay, written, translated screenplay. It tickles the part of my brain that's comfort and humor, and I can't even tell you how many times I've reread it, watched the movie, and it still cracks me up. So, A Million Ways to Die in the West, and it's, I mean, one of those you can sit down and read it in an hour, hour and a half. It's large print, but I mean, Bridget the sheep. But it is. It's like, as odd as it is with all of the books in the world, this is probably one of my most favorite books ever. Is it particularly literary and spectacular? No. Is it fun? Absolutely. So, if you've never read it or watched the movie and you are okay with gallows humor and just basically think of what a 12-year-old boy laughs at, that's my sense of humor, go for it. So, that being said, this one I'll just throw in as an honorable mention. I don't know if I'll read it, but it was the first historical romance that I picked up in the Western June on the Range theme, but it's Wildflower by Virginia Brown. It's a zebra historical romance, which anytime I go to a used book sale, if I see a zebra and I don't have it, I will pick it up. So this one is basically Colorado Kate, who is a notorious train robber outlaw, and finds herself in love, in peril, which it's funny that I see this infamous gunslinger Jake Lassiter, which kind of will now connect with the book that I have read a chapter of. I didn't mention it because I haven't formally put it on my currently reading, but Riders of the Purple Sage by Zane Grey. I've never read Zane Grey. This is one I heard mentioned a lot last year with June on the Range, so I decided to pick this up. And Lassiter, like, I'm wondering, did Virginia Brown borrow Lassiter from Riders of the Purple Sage? I don't love this cover. It's very like historical romancy with it just seems cheesy. So I do know my used bookstore locally has 2 copies in stock. So whenever my glasses and contacts come in the next couple of business days or so, I plan on popping in and seeing what the copies are. They have different covers, and grabbing one, even though I primarily really read ebooks and listen to audiobooks. But that one is my first dip into Zane Grey. I do have 3 old vintage hardbacks of Zane Grey that I found for $1 at a local thrift store. The first one that I kind of just pulled off the shelf, there on the bottom shelf over here somewhere, is The Drift Fence. Like I said, it's has an inscription. I think it's John Shedden, March 1st, 1950. And this one was published in 1933. So this is a 90-year-old Western, copy of a Western. it's seen better days for sure. Someone decided that they wanted to, in pencil, check off the ones of Zane Grey that they read. So they were a huge Zane Grey fan, I do believe. So this one, haven't started it, but I just love these old books. I collect them when I find them. It started when I was a kid, and my Aunt Betty, my dad's aunt, she passed away, and my mom got a bunch of her old books. And this is like, I remember growing up thumbing through old copies like this, which for me, being a kid in the 80s, they weren't terribly, terribly old, but to me, they were magic. So anything with this like cloth, it's like nostalgia. Love it. And then Copper by Al Dempsey. This is just one of those at a book sale, fill a bag, that I saw it, love the cover, love the illustrations on the back, and picked it up. I'm wanting to say was in a library, if not a actual library, someone's personal, because they put November of 1989. Was that when it was published? Yes, it was. So I was 7 when this came out. If you want to think that that's young or old, that is up to you. But this one is Butte, Montana territory, exploring riches in the mountains. A wealth of minerals, especially copper, are being mined, and people getting rich off of copper. So, and of course, there's going to be a little bit of a love story in it. I know there are others. Last year I did Lonesome Dove for June on the Range. And I, of course, did A Million Ways to Die in the West. And maybe Lonesome Dove was a different time. Could have been. I'm not sure. But I did the Virginian. Wasn't for me. It was kind of boring, honestly, and I've heard like excellent things about it, and I don't know if it was my mindset at the time that I just was not in it. My heart wasn't in it. I would definitely maybe give it another try if I could find it on audiobook, but I didn't do too much by the way of June on the Range, but I want to this year more so. I have some library books checked out still. Honestly, I think it's just going to be a bust. Like, just take them back. Cut your losses, and say you tried. They were interesting to you at the moment, but then the moment passed. I, again, am definitely a mood reader. I cannot set a TBR like formally and say I'm reading every one of these. These are piles of possibilities is the new phrase that we want to use. So will I read the others? Maybe not immediately, but I have found that if I do decide that I want to change my mind, I can always check them out again, or they are available on Scribd or with the library, like electronic digitally. So it's fine. If they go away for now, it doesn't mean they're going away forever. But one of the library books that I think I want to at least give it a good go, maybe this weekend, sit down and try a couple of chapters and see how I feel, but it's The Last Carolina Girl by Megan Church. I don't remember if I showed it or mentioned it last week, but I think so. So that will be my non-June on the Range pick beyond Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing, I do have it cranked up to 3 speed and have a little bit less than 6 hours left to go. I will have final thoughts next week, because I will for sure, if I do complete it all, finish it this weekend. Weekend plans, not much. I'll go visit my sister tomorrow. Sunday, I booked a pool, so my husband and I are going swimming for the first time this season. So I look forward to that. It's going to be plenty hot enough for sure for us to be able to go, and I'm sure the pool is going to be cold, but dunk and go with it. But let me know if you've read any of these, especially Zane Grey, since he is a pretty popular. No Louis L'Amour. I have never read Louis however you say his name. I know there are plenty out there. So whenever I do go to the bookstore, maybe next week, I'll see what they have, poke around, maybe get one or two of his and give them a try. You know what source? I know they're pretty short. So if you are reading anything for June on the Range, let me know. If not, what else you're reading? Is it summer themed? Are you getting into like beach reads? Let me know. I have for sure made this longer than it needed to be for a weekly reads and June on the Range tentative TBR. But next week, if I pick up some books, I'll give you a book haul and let you know what I decided on or what I'm in the middle of and go from there. But I hope you are enjoying your start to June on the Range. Have some great picks or whatever you're enjoying. But I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.